All right, so welcome to another dispatch from the podcast room here at the Creative Bureaucracy Festival. This is a Civic Punks podcast, and I found a friend who you might remember from one of our previous videos. Lily, how's it going?
Great, it's getting summer, and conference season slowly comes to its end.
Well, this is one of my favorites. Is this your first time here? How many?
Absolutely.
This is your first time?
Yes, I'm a local in Berlin, but this is the first time.
Oh wow, you're in for a treat.
Well, you know, with a site in your own city, you never go because you could do every day.
Yeah.
And then you postpone it and then never find the time and then you're away. But eventually, I'm so glad I made it.
Well, I want to dig into what brought you here today. But before we do that, we should probably give a bit of a refresh on the work that you do. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Louis Klein. I'm with the European School of Governance here in Berlin. I'm with the International Federation for Systems Research. The latter is very much a peak body looking at systems, leadership, governance, transformation, while the European School of Governance has a greater focus in public administration, as the name suggests. And so doing all kinds of research, but also hands-on projects to improve the world.
What is the project you're most excited about right now that you're involved in?
The project most exciting is, already for the last 6 years, the transformation of the Moroccan education system as part of the new development model of Morocco, which came about in 2019. And it's the idea to find their own genuine development path, not so much sort of with the West or with the East, not with the US American ideas or the Saudi ideas, but really looking into what are Morocco's roots and how can that be translated into a successful transformation path. Not only for the education system, but for the society as such.
If there's a kernel from your experience with that you hope you could replicate elsewhere, what would that kernel be?
That understanding of what is and what could be grows from the core reflection of lived experiences. So the people doing it are the experts. It's not the consultants, it's not the people with the concepts, with the ideas, with the methodologies, but really, like in Morocco, in the education system, sitting with the teachers, sitting with the students, sitting with the principals, sitting with the parents and the embedding communities, co-reflecting everybody's school experience. To say, what is it that we actually want? How do we want to live school? How do we want to learn together? How do we grow a shared understanding and not sort of finding ourselves in a competition of interests at the end of the day?
I think it's an interesting one as well because of how much learning and teaching is shifting right now. Well, I think two things to it. One is how much it's shifting right now, and two is how important it is to everybody. We all have that school experience, and in many cases it's like very formative. It's some of our most important formative years that we're in school. Or we have kids and we're heavily invested in the kids and what they're doing in our kids' schools. So I find it really interesting to sort of bringing together these two different groups.
Lifelong learning, that's the key. It never stops. In an ever-changing world, how can learning stop? We have to grow an understanding over and over and over again. Understanding is something that is impermanent, that sort of dissolves over time, because the world is changing. What's right today may be not adequate anymore tomorrow. So we have to...
Well, and how do we keep it dynamic is I think the question, because it's like anything you build institutions around become rigid. And the world is changing so fast. We're so uncertain about what the future of learning looks like. It's changing. Like AI is changing things so fast.
Go to the root cause. When you're saying institutions get rigid, why? Why is that? Go to the root cause. It has a lot to do with efficiency. If we come with the idea of efficiency, we sort of limit the space. We are trying to operate in increasingly narrow corridors. We don't take time anymore to sit together, to co-reflect, to question. We just try to get the job done. But there is a difference between getting things done and letting things grow. And if we don't take time for it, we lose the capacity.
I think it's interesting as well, like this idea of efficiency being so important, despite the fact that like it's not just efficiency, it's also like comfort, what we're comfortable with. I think the other thing that is important is this idea that predictability, consistency. Like when I think of like why in government do we develop systems, right? Because when we talk about rigidity, we're talking about systems that we make repetitive, right? It's about predictability, it's about ensuring quality, a certain stable quality, a certain stable justice, everybody gets equal access to it. These are the reasons why we make these systems in place. But the danger is they become rigid, which is particularly hard when they're so unpredictable, when they're constantly changing. In the case of education, that's one of the challenging parts about this. So anyways, I'm really interested in seeing how this work that you're doing with the Moroccan education system, how you balance those different tensions.
I think the first thing that we need to learn is to shift from the quantitative to the qualitative. Well, if we look at bureaucracy, we are here at the Creative Bureaucracy Festival. We talk about how we want lesser curtailing bureaucracy, as if less is better. But this is something different. We don't want less bureaucracy. We want better public administration.
I like that.
And the question is, how do we get to it? And this is again a process of inquiry, learning, and understanding. And this is where we need the time. And then we can discuss, but we don't have the time and all of this. No, that's not true. Go back into the nice, go back to Toyota, go back to Japan, go back to total quality management and all these kind of things, where they empowered the workers to stop the line if something went out of hand, where they gathered in group work. The workers said, how can we improve this? They tapped into the very rich experience of the people doing the work. Are we doing that in public administration? Not yet.
No, but we could do it again.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this is sort of a good time to sort of ask about, the Creative Bureaucracy Festival, we're here now. What caused you to come this year?
Very much the question of how to advance the space. Right? European School of Governance, looking into governance, which is not necessarily government, but to say how do we do administration better? And for that, I've been a couple of conferences and seminars and things around the globe, looking into administration, deliberation, AI, innovation, and all these kind of things. But to tune into it, to listen into the discourse and say, where are we going? What is the collective sense making? And what is its blind spot? The idea of continuous improvement is certainly a blind spot. If you go around here, they have the idea of innovation, they have the idea of AI. And what happens there is, if I come up with this super solution in the future, I block the present. If there is the super solution, AI or whatever, the innovation we are all waiting for, what do I do today to improve my work? Zero. And that is so inhibiting.
I think what's interesting, if I sort of reflect on that point, I think one of the reasons that we sort of grasp at the future is because the present, for many of us right now, is really uncomfortable. It's really dark, and we grasp the future because it feels better, it feels lighter. There's room for hope there. When the present, we struggle for hope. So how do we get better at holding the challenges of the present?
Come in here with observation from earlier, actually from the opening ceremony, where they were talking about bureaucracy being the front door to democracy.
Oh, interesting.
And in the following sessions and panels, the question of trust. But at the moment, we think the question of trust, how do citizens trust the state? But if you look at bureaucracy, how much does the state trust its citizen? And if you see all the forms and all these things, they are sort of material proof of the distrust of the state concerning its citizens. And then we have the third group, which are the administrators. Who trust them? Neither the state nor the citizen. So we have a triangle where nobody trusts anybody else. And this is where we need to go first, to rebuild that trust.
So how does one rebuild that trust? Because I don't think anyone would disagree with what you're saying. The question is, well, how do you rebuild this? How do you rebuild the trust?
You know the Little Prince, right? And there's a scene where the prince and the fox wanted to become friends. The prince said to the fox, I'd like to become your friend. How do I do that? And the fox said, you come here and you sit with me for the day in a distance that feels safe for both of us. And the next day, you come back and I allow you to sit a bit closer. And the third day, we will sit even closer to each other until we sit next to each other and become friends. And I think that this element, withness, is at the very core of how we build trust. Are we with the citizens, with the government? We're living in democracies. We are the state. But we don't allow each other to be with each other. We are not with the bureaucracy. It is sort of It's all sort of transactional instead of looking for ways to be with each other. And there's so many little things that do not require too much of an effort, which would bring about these first steps of witness, the first invitation, sit a little closer.
I like that. I definitely like that. Any final thoughts about your experience so far? It's being your first Creative Bureaucracy Festival. I know we're only halfway through the day, and in many ways things are just getting warmed up.
Probably what comes to my mind first is how seamless it is organised. I've been in so many conferences where you had sort of felt the pressure to have to rush here, rush there, the long queues and everything. Nothing of that. Here, you can float between the different sessions. They allow for breaks to get from one place to another. That is sort of well thought through. That's the first thing. If that feeling would be the feeling of the future bureaucracy, we are on a very good track.
I think it's a great place to end it. Louis, thank you so much. It's great seeing you again. Hopefully you'll see you at the pub quiz.